Transportation Safety Board may consider these easy opening emergency windows when they decide whether buses need belts. The New Orleans area crash ejected many passengers who may have survived if something kept them inside. The government's also considering an internal report that may recommend school bus seatbelts as well. But bus companies say seatbelts aren't their biggest safety concern. What's the biggest safety issue you ever have to deal with as a bus driver?
The other driver. You have to predict what he's going to do.
Andy Field for ABC News, Washington.
The Transportation Board should receive its seatbelt report this summer. Then the Transportation Secretary must decide if bus seatbelts will become the law.
Well, buckle up and listen up, because it's time to see how the afternoon rush is going in the ABC25 Traffic Center. Here's Lee Roberts. Lee, what areas do we need to avoid?
Well, on the west side, there's a report of a crash Roosevelt near College and one with injuries Cleveland near Edgewood. It's a slow ride 95 southbound from the Myrtle overpass to the 1095 merger. Traffic is crawling Beach eastbound from Grove Park to Southside Boulevard and Southside Boulevard northbound near Hogan to Beach. Traffic sponsored in part by Centex Homes, built for life. From the Traffic Center on the South Bank, I'm Lee Roberts for ABC 25 News at 5. Back to you.
Thank you, Lee. A 66-pound catfish named Big Bubba could make someone 5,000 pounds richer. That's if they're lucky enough to catch him. Big Bubba, the catfish, is the prize catch in the 4th annual Dismore Catfish Tournament in October. Big Bubba and dozens of other fish from a South Georgia fish hatchery were released today into the Davy Big Tree Nursery Pond. For the past 4 years, no one has ever caught the top prize. Organizers hope that this changes this year, but they say there are plenty of other big fish in the pond too. So don't give up hope if you're waiting on.
The big ones have never been caught. We've never had a catch over 30 pounds. And I know that they're in there because every year I've assisted with helping to get these big fish in there. So there's a lot of stock in this pond here.
In addition to the grand prize, $3,000 will be awarded to the person who catches the largest catfish other than Bubba. The tournament benefits the Downtown Services Council, which provides help to families in need. Now, don't give up on Big Bubba.
Where's a fish named Big Bubba swim?
Anywhere
it wants. There you go.
Should Hustler magazine publisher Larry Flint be convicted on obscenity charges?
Coming up on ABC 25 News, we'll have the outcome of the case against Flint. And if you're sick of all those annoying sales calls, the ones that come at dinner time, there is some encouraging news. The days of the cold call may be numbered. Plus, you've seen the trailers, heard the hype, and maybe even bought your ticket. But what about the movie itself? Hear what the critics say about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Your opinion is.
And coming up in health news, a look at some ways to ease the pains of PMS. Plus, find out how pins may actually help relieve back pain. That's all coming up in health news.
Live from ABC 25, Bruce Hamilton, Karen Adams, First Alert Weather with Brian Albrecht, and Sports Blitz with Rick Renner. You're watching ABC 25 News at 5.
Checking Wall Street, the Dow closed down 25 3/4 at 11,000.37. The Nasdaq gained just under 40, closing at 2606.51. And the S&P 500 had an up day. It closed up more than 8 1/3 at 1364. Well, there is no doubt the new Star Wars movie is already having a sizable economic impact on the nation.
But can bad press from the force behind Hollywood machine, can it exist? ABC 25's Keith Kuntz is here with more. Good afternoon, Keith.
Hi, Karen and Bruce. First came the trailers, then the toys, then the true believers. They're all pieces of just a huge Hollywood hype machine. But now the critics are talking, and many of them don't believe the hype.
We see a lot of lightsaber battles. We see a lot of battles with machines, and we don't see enough of the characters really interacting and talking. And there's not much clever dialogue either.
Time said the film contains, quote, dazzling visual effects, but is short on human magic. And Variety said it lacks any emotional pull, as well as a sense of wonder and awe that marks the best works of sci-fi fantasy. But Variety admitted the film is an automatic blockbuster. But just how big a blockbuster, and will weak reviews cut into profits for producer George Lucas and distributor 20th Century Fox?
Oh, it's going to be an enormous opening weekend. Enormous.
The question is, does it really fulfill kind of Titanic business as you get later into the summer? And that I think the reviews will probably have something to do with that.
Titanic business would be about $600 million at the box office, give or take a few million. The first 3 Star Wars installments all made the top 9 of all time. To climb that list, Phantom will need some heavy repeat business.
It's totally different on the small screen as opposed to being larger than life on the big screen, so it's probably worth seeing a good 7-8 times.
Throughout the whole summer, I'll planning to see it once a week, actually, because I'm going to getting a job this summer, so I'll have money.
Trained as a Jedi, you request for him,
Even Variety, which panned the movie, predicts it will gross about $120 million in its first week alone and double that in its first month.
So even if it doesn't live up to all the hype, the movie is almost certain to be a bona fide hit at the box office. Coming up in our second half hour, our own Bob Riddell introduces us to some of the true believers right here in Jacksonville who have already bought their tickets. Some of those folks who are standing out there for hours and hours. Karen?
All right, well, it looks as though America Online may have found a new way to maintain its dominance in the internet market. AOL is partnering with digital TV provider DirecTV as well as the Hughes Network, Philips Electronics, and Computer Network. The companies will develop a new TV set on top that will allow AOL members to connect to their service through their TV sets and bypass their computers altogether. No word yet on when the product will become available. AOL does have some 17 million subscribers. Here in Jacksonville, AOL employs about 1,700 people.
It's dinner time, sitting down with the family, and what happens? The phone rings and you get one of those unwanted sales calls. Well, if you're upset by those, then you want to check out our Money Talks report today. ABC25's Stacey Johnson tells us why technology may soon beat the cold call.
Not everyone hates unsolicited sales calls, but according to research, 8 out of 10 Americans do regard sales calls as intrusive. No big surprise.
But what might be a surprise is how easy it is to fight back against those unwanted calls with both high and low-tech solutions. Caller ID, for example, screens calls, but caller ID can be blocked, or calls can come from out of the area, which renders it useless.
Unless you have this little device. If caller ID can't ID your caller, this gadget asks the caller to enter the phone number they're calling from. Using that information, it identifies them. Then and only then will it ring the call through.
Now, this service isn't available everywhere yet, and even when it is, it's going to cost you a monthly service charge. So here are 2 free weapons that you can start using right now.
Number 1, you can write a letter to the telephone preference service and tell them to take your name off the telemarketing list of their members. That's going to reduce some of your calls. And if you simply substitute the word mail for telephone, you can do the same thing with junk mail. Idea number 2 is even better. Go to junkbusters.com on the internet. They offer all kinds of useful free advice to reduce that flood of unwanted calls and mail to a trickle. For Money Talks, I'm Stacey Johnson.
Now, if you missed any of the information in Stacey's report, just give the ABC25 info line a call and we'll be happy to repeat it for you. That number is 332-INFO. That's 332-4636. Well, for women suffering from PMS, some new research may be a big help.
Coming up next in health news, the key is actually as close as your neighborhood supermarket. And if you suffer from back pain, there's a new drug-free alternative available that you will definitely want to hear about. Stay with us. In health news, it's estimated that up to half of all American women between 20 and 50 years old suffer from PMS. While there are a variety of so-called cures on the market, there may be a way to ease the symptoms as close as your grocery store.
Large stomach, not being able to sleep, and just not easy to get along with.
Diane Wilson is revisiting her symptoms of PMS, or premenstrual syndrome. For her and her husband, PMS stretches into a very long week.
He's learned. He used to think I was going crazy, that I was this totally irrational, mean human being. But I think he's learned that it's hormone related, and I really often don't have a lot of control over it.
Now research is offering help found right in your diet.
There has been tremendous research now with soy, and the chemicals that are in soy are called phytoestrogens. These are chemicals that are natural chemicals that mimic estrogen. So these may help with PMS.
In many grocery stores, you'll find user-friendly soy in the form of everything from hot dogs to cheese to tofu.
Tofu is just cut it up into little pieces, and it takes on the flavor of the food.
Soy milk is an easy way to sneak the benefits of soy into your diet.
What am I going to do with it? You can drink soy as a beverage. You can have it with cereal in the morning. You can put it into recipes.
I see something else that I really want to point out. PMS tea. Hand me that box.
PMS teas claim to relieve PMS discomfort, but Ann says don't expect too much.
This is just soothing. This is the psychological effect.
Most importantly, research shows that there are some things that aggravate PMS.
Limit. I hate to say avoid of anything, but you want to limit your intake of salty foods like pickles, like processed meats. If you are craving the salt, have a small portion of something that is higher in salt. But again, it's portion sizes. It's 10 or 15 chips, not the whole bag.
Add alcohol to the list.
Alcohol is a depressant. And when you're suffering from PMS, you're feeling depressed.
And many women say their symptoms improve when they watch their caffeine intake.
Caffeine is a stimulant. And again, it's something that you really don't want to deal with when you're having PMS symptoms.
Now, the bottom line is if you find something that makes you feel better and you think it works, then it probably does. Well, if you're like millions of other Americans who suffer from back pain, you may be looking for an alternative treatment option. If so, there's a new drug-free method available.
1 out of 6 people in the U.S. suffer from severe back trouble, adding up to more than $11.5 billion a year in lost wages and disability. A study in the Journal of the American Medical Association identifies an effective treatment for back pain called percutaneous electrical nerve stimulation, or PENS.
PENS therapy involves the insertion of very fine needles. They're actually 32 gauge. They're about the size of a hair, into the soft tissue or muscle to a depth of anywhere from 1 to 4 centimeters.
PENS therapy derives from acupuncture, but sends electrical stimulation through the needles to nerve fibers. Pulses travel to the central nervous system, producing a pain-relieving effect. The therapy is said to have the sensation of tapping, raindrops falling, or massage.
Doctors emphasize this is not a cure for major back problems, only an alternative to some pain medications. Coming up next on ABC25 News at 5, the remains of victims killed in the NATO embassy bombing are returned home to Beijing. And country music star George Jones heads to court. He's got to answer some drunk driving charges.
Your drive Butler westbound is closed from Belfort to I-95. If you're traveling eastbound Matthews Bridge Expressway, you'll use the brakes before Randolph to the top of the Matthews Bridge, and it's a stop-and-go ride in the right lane of 295 northbound, about a half mile approaching Blanding Boulevard. In the ABC25 Traffic Center on the South Bank, I'm Lee Roberts. Traffic sponsored in part by Albertsons. It's your store. ABC25 News at 5. We'll be right back after this.
When you see news happening, call our ABC25 hotline, 332-NEWS, or star 25 on your Bell South mobility phone. ABC25 News at 5 continues with Keith Coons and Donna Savarese.
Topping the news this half hour, the cremated remains of the victims of NATO's accidental bombing of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade arrived back home in Beijing.
Hundreds of workers, relatives, and the Chinese vice president were on hand at the airport in Beijing to mourn their arrival. Friday's bombings killed 2 journalists and injured more than 20 diplomats. The injured also arrived home. With the latest on the Kosovo crisis, here's ABC's Jim Shudo.
It was the busiest, and NATO officials say the most successful night of air raids so far.
Our goal is to degrade Milosevic's military power at a point
to a point where he is unable to continue his brutal policy of ethnic cleansing in Kosovo.
NATO's Secretary General got a first-hand look at ethnic cleansing in action as he visited a refugee camp in Albania.
After having seen so many people suffering, the only thing I would like to say from the bottom of my heart is that all these people will be back home, will be back in his country where they belong, and that we are not going to stop.
In fact, the NATO force in Europe is growing, and the Pentagon ordered nearly 2,200 more reserve airmen and sailors to join Operation Allied Force.
This is a fight between good and evil, and NATO is not going to allow evil to prevail.
The remains of the 3 victims of NATO's bombing of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade returned home to Beijing, along with more than 20 of those injured in the attack. Some worry that their return could reignite anti-American demonstrations in the Chinese capital. But the protests did subside enough to allow U.S. Ambassador to China James Sasser to leave the embassy for the first time in days. NATO's focus now is on winning Russia's support for the alliance's peace conditions. The White House says a meeting between Russian and American officials in Moscow was productive, but Russia repeated its insistence that NATO must stop the air campaign for the peace process to continue. James Shudo, ABC News, Washington.
Still overseas now, and Russian President Boris Yeltsin is shaking things up in his government once again. He is fired as prime minister. An emergency session of Russia's parliament is scheduled for Friday to consider the very abrupt move. The lower chamber of parliament is already planning to consider Yeltsin's impeachment.
Back in this country, a major force behind steering the economy for the Clinton administration is stepping down. Treasury Secretary Robert Rubin plans to return to private life, and he will be replaced by his deputy, Larry Summers. Rubin took over as Treasury Chief in 1995, and many have credited his policies for playing a big role in keeping the U.S. economy going strong. Shortly after the news was announced today, the Dow briefly dropped 200 points.
Country singer George Jones appeared in a Tennessee courtroom today. He was answering to a drunken driving charge stemming from a near-fatal accident last March. Jones pleaded guilty to driving while impaired, which does not carry any jail time. But a reckless driving charge will be dismissed in a year if he completes alcohol counseling and is not arrested again. After the court appearance, Jones apologized to his fans and promised to get help for his drinking problem. Obscenity charges are dropped against Hustler magazine publisher Larry Flynt, but Flynt's bookstore in downtown Cincinnati has been ordered to pay a $5,000 fine, and it cannot carry X-rated videos anymore. Flynt says he's happy, adding that he got the deal that he wanted. He says all he wants to do now is sell his magazine, but prosecutors say no concessions were made. In his words, Flynt turned tail and ran.
Police in Houston have turned up an unlikely crime-fighting tool, a highly controversial talk show. They have located a man wanted in connection with a stabbing by watching the Jerry Springer show. The suspect, Willie Johnson, appeared in an episode about drag queens. Police quickly went to Johnson's family home where they found the suspect. Police have been looking for Johnson for nearly a month.
We've been looking for some rain for a while. Didn't get any today, at least not where I was, but another very nice day.
It was a very nice day, and I'll tell you, those evenings are really heating up as well, Brian.
Yeah, we're having some rather calm, comfortable weather conditions across the city of Jacksonville. Looks like it'll be a pretty nice evening, although we may see a couple of thunder showers kind of scoot by along on the southern side of the city within the next couple of hours. Out over the city of Jacksonville today, the skies were mostly sunny. We had the cumulus clouds today, but they weren't developing near as far vertically through the midday hours. It took until late afternoon before the sunshine really boiled things over. And at that time, most of the activity was to the south and west of us. First Alert Live Doppler radar in and around the city of Jacksonville, not detecting any thunderstorm activity right now, but it's a different story out to the west and southwest of us. Storms moving just a hair south of due east right now, so it looks like most of the activity will pass by just south of Jacksonville. And things are quite active just down the road, about 20 or 30 miles in that direction as the thunderstorm activity continues to drift along, becoming rather heavy now, moving into St. Johns County, especially in northern Putnam County. You've got a pretty heavy thunderstorm just west of Palatka and also to the south and east of Palatka, heading over toward the Benella area and Flagler Beach. Again, moving toward the east, about 25 miles per hour. So you've got some wet weather in the forecast in these areas tonight. Otherwise, as mentioned, it was a nice warm day. We saw temperatures topping off at 86 degrees at the airport, 58 last night's low. A little below normal on the low, a little above normal on the high. So you average it out, pretty well normal. 51 on the air quality index, better than yesterday in the moderate category, just up above the 50 threshold for good. Mainly ozone out there as the pollutant of the day. 83 degrees, 56% relative humidity, now an east wind blowing off the ocean to 9 miles per hour. Pretty mild across most sections of the southeast, a little cooler to the north in the 70s over North Georgia and Alabama. Mostly in the 80s here in Florida with the exception of 75 in Miami. That's rain-cooled air down there. A lot of cool air in the northern sections of the country and extending down into the Rocky Mountains. Not as cold as the last couple of days where there's been snow around Denver, but still a cool 64, most of the heat. Not really that hot across the southern states. Showers and thunderstorms erupting across many areas of the Gulf. Very strong storms in Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri. Here's your main severe weather threat for tonight. We'll watch that low pressure system squeezing the atmosphere, the moisture out of it in the form of heavy thunderstorm activity. The severe weather passes to the north of us tomorrow. Afternoon storms and probably the same story coming up on Friday. So we have another chance to get some badly needed rainfall the next few afternoons and evenings. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. A little bit of fog late tonight, low temperature around 60, light southeast winds. Tomorrow we'll be looking at a partly sunny day with afternoon storms and a high of 86. And the outlook for the beaches, temperatures in the mid-80s with afternoon storms developing. Out on the ocean, southwest winds to 15 knots, 3 to 4 foot seas, moderate chop on the inland and bay waters, surf temperature 73. Your 7-day forecast, not a whole lot of change coming up. Maybe we take a day off from the rain on Saturday with afternoon storms each day. And this just in, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now for Putnam and Flagler counties until 6:25. Some nasty storms, potential for hail there. So in those areas, stay away from windows, stay indoors until the danger passes.
Ryan, thank you.
And keep tuned to ABC25 for the latest on those storms.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you, you never know these days where the Jaguars are going to turn up. right around the corner in your own neighborhood.
Days, right? It's crazy. You know, Tony Baselli was bagging groceries. You got Keenan McCardell changing oil. It's crazy. You might have Mark Brunell cutting your hair one day.
Who knows what could happen?
They're getting out there in the community, making it happen, thanking the fans. We'll talk about that coming up next. The latest cat attack on the First Coast. And if that's not enough to tickle your fancy, the next great Olympian from the First Coast. She hails from Orange Park, and she's better than most. You'll get a kick out of this story next.
From the ABC25 Sports Center, Sports Blitz with Rick Renner.
Well, it's time to give back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week has been a caravan of love. Today, Joel Schmingy, the big guy, Eddie Mason, FSU's Todd Fordham, and Eric Stolz visited the Baptist Medical Center at the Beaches. The players posed for pictures, signed autographs, learned some new plays, and for the boys in uniform, it's their way of giving back to the fans.
Well, today's a Thank the Fan Day, and it's a great opportunity for us to go around and show our appreciation to them.
Just going out to the communities, just reaching back out so the community could put a face with a number, and just letting them know that we're no better than anybody else. We're athletes, and we just try to entertain the fans, but we really want to get down to a level to where the fans know that, we really appreciate everything for their support and everything that they've done for us.
I mean, this is what makes Jacksonville Jaguars go, is the fan support and how they help us out. If they're not there every Sunday rooting us on and cheering for us and being the 12th man, we're not as near as successful as we are now.
When the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia come around, a new sport will be introduced. Actually, it's an old one. It may be old, but it's not cold, baby. Taekwondo is thousands and thousands years of old. Something like that. But it'll be a new sport in the Olympics. Scott Roberts caught up with a young lady who has her eyes set on the Games of 2000. I'm going to go find my tongue.
At 16 years of age, Marsha Berry is not your ordinary teenager. She's a national Taekwondo champ and has her eyes trained on the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia.
Before I placed at Nationals, it was I wanted to get to Nationals and place. But now Olympics, because it's the highest you can go. That's the highest honor you can receive in the sport.
But before the Olympics, Berry has a lot of work to do, and she's doing it. A daily 3 to 5 mile run is followed by another 3 hours in the gym. Not to mention school, where Barry's an A student here at Orange Park High. So juggling schoolwork, a social life, and working out at the gym does take some maneuvering.
I save my friends for the weekends and stuff because I train Saturday morning. And then again, I have Saturday night and Sunday and my Friday night to go out. But school's not really a problem for me. I've always had good grades and was able to manage it ever since I was little.
Sure, the goals are high, but so are the sacrifices.
Sometimes you get really tired and sore. Of course, you'll be sore a lot and stuff, especially when you first start. But it's just something you have to do because, I mean, if you want to succeed in this sport, you're going to have to practice. You have to be physically fit for it.
Even at 16 years old, the road to the Olympics is a long one. Barry will compete around the country until the Olympic trials in Colorado Springs in January. And that's no kick in the grass. Scott Roberts, ABC25 Sports, Orange Park.
Thank you, Scott. Let's go to the left coast in St. Petersburg for the Dog Chow Incredible Dog Challenge. And they're off. Cocker Spaniel on the inside. Here comes Sparky down the outside. Here's my favorite, Frisbee, the balancing stallion. But don't forget about the long jump competition. These athletes have been working all year for this very day. I don't think I could jump that far. That's sports. Over to you.
We cover them all here, don't we?
Incredible talent, yes.
Absolutely. Imagine dialing up your favorite video anytime you want.
No programming the VCR or staying up late. Well, it's happening on the internet now. Next on ABC25 News at 5. You want your MTV without the TV part? Well, you can have it now. We'll explain coming up. Welcome back. 12 minutes before 6. Let's check out today's top stories that we're following.
Bruce Hamilton joins us live from the ABC25 newsroom now with the very latest. Hi, Bruce.
Good afternoon, Keith and Donna. Among the stories we continue to follow are the Florida crime statistics, and new numbers released today show that the crime rate is at its lowest level in more than 20 years. The FDLE reports overall crime dropped almost 6.5% last year. Here in Duval County, overall crime was down 6.8%. Former Florida House Speaker Bo Johnson and his wife have been convicted of tax evasion. At this hour, both are behind bars. The judge in the case will consider motions for their release during the sentencing hearing in July. And America Online's teaming with several other companies to develop a new TV set-top box. It will allow TV viewers to access AOL without a computer. AOL's partners in the venture include DirecTV and Philips Electronics. An update throughout the course of the day on all the day's news, so keep it right here on ABC25. Keith, Donna.
Thank you, Bruce. Speaking of television, 25 years ago, most folks here in Jacksonville could only get 4 or 5 TV channels.
But thanks to the explosion of cable and satellite services, now many of those same families get 70 channels or perhaps even more. And now the internet is promising even more video options.
Some of the pictures are small and jumpy, but it's just the start.
Everyone is producing audio and video for the world today, and anyone who has an internet connection can experience this audio and video that people are producing.
Others, like Apple Computer's feed of the Star Wars movie trailer, showed in widescreen and stereo. It's a very hot item, 10 million downloads in less than a month.
Quality will take a giant leap up, and I think we're at the beginning of something pretty profound.
Companies or associations hire internet broadcasters to put them on the internet.
TV on the Web has created a network of narrowcast channels on the web that basically enables associations, corporations to be able to reach out to their specific and target market.
Example, the world's hundreds of shipping companies are scattered all over the globe. No single broadcast method could reach all of them until the internet. How about TV Me, do-it-yourself television? Talk show host Alex Bennett runs his own one-man internet TV station.
I mean, I do this for my home every day of the week, and I have 2 cameras so that I can I have a guest and I switch back and forth between the cameras and all of that.
And straight out of the movie Wayne's World,
Those 2 guys on a couch,
who broadcast their own internet infomercial for a TV station kit.
Kind of different. Nintendo tonight is upping the video game ante. The company is joining forces with Matsushita and IBM to develop a new lifelike 3D video game console. Now, the new game machine is expected to be on the market by the end of next year. And if you remember the old Jetsons cartoon from the 60s, you may recall Robo-Dogs as part of the plot line. Well, now the real thing has arrived. Next month, Sony will start selling a robot dog with artificial intelligence. That's right. We're told it walks, kicks a ball, sleeps, and even plays, but this pooch is not very cheap. It'll cost you about, well, a mere $2,500, so the real man's best friend may not have a whole lot to worry about.
And I understand Brian is very interested in that robo-dog. He's very excited.
Is that what you heard? I don't think this robo-dog would be as cuddly as the real thing, though, would you?
No, I don't think so, but I'm kind of interested in that artificial intelligence because my dog could probably use a little bit of that, you know. She doesn't seem to be too bright, but, well, in any event, I guess with Robo-Dog, you don't have to send him on out. to do his business. Anyway, thunderstorm activity, northwestern areas of Flagler County. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 6:25 this evening for Flagler County, as well as Putnam County. But it looks like the danger has moved out of Putnam now into northwest Flagler County between Palatka and the Bunnell area. This is moving toward the east and southeast at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Main problem right here is hail. Extremely intense echoes, that's usually an indicator of hail. So in that area, again, get away from windows, stay indoors, and you should be able to ride out this storm without too much trouble. All part of an area of thunderstorms just to the south of Jacksonville on the St. Johns River and extending on down toward Flagler Beach in the coastal sections. Elsewhere, most of the action remains out west and south, so that's where your action is going to be tonight. Also farther south, in South Florida, there's been some pretty heavy thunderstorm activity. A severe thunderstorm watch was posted there for the afternoon. For us this evening, a few thunderstorms around for the south. Temperatures falling back into the 70s. Tomorrow, it looks like we'll have a better chance for some rain again in Jacksonville, even out to the beaches with southwest winds through the day and a high of 86. Your 7-day outlook coming up on ABC25 News at 6.
I would tend to think RoboDog doesn't drool either. What do you think?
My money is on no drooling.
Yeah. So what's the hottest ticket in town right now? I bet you already know.
The Backstreet Boys, maybe NSYNC, one of those groups, but as far as we know, none of those chart busters are coming to town anytime soon. But the new Star Wars movie, well, it opens next week, and when we come back, we'll tell you what price some folks are paying to catch the first showing.
I'm Bruce Hamilton. Coming up new at 6. A federal judge hands down on the issue of religious messages at Duval County school graduations. Plus, Jacksonville City Council has the most new faces it's had since the city's incorporation. Those stories and more tonight on ABC25 News at 6.
Topping entertainment news, one of Hollywood's all-time greats is back.
That's right. Elizabeth Taylor says she feels better these days than she has in years, and the legendary star has a new management team, and she says she is anxious to get back on the big screen. It'll be good to have her back.
Very exciting. It's going to be a very big payday for one Antonio Banderas. The actor will get a $12 million payday for his upcoming movie, The Body.
Checking May 12th in entertainment history, Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra traded duets on their hit songs Witchcraft and Love Me Tender during an ABC special back in 1960. In 1964, Peter, Paul, and Mary won a Grammy for their song Blowin' in the Wind. And in 1992, Brady Bunch dad Robert Reed died of colon cancer at the age of 59. It was later revealed that the AIDS virus contributed to his death. Checking birthdays today, actress Katharine Hepburn celebrates birthday number 92. Comedian George Carlin turned 62, and composer Burt Bacharach is 70.
Well, the new Star Wars movie hasn't even opened yet, and already anticipation is building for episode 2 of the prequel.
In fact, the planning for that second installment is already underway. Star Wars producer Rick McCallum says planning meetings are already taking place. Now, the next film is set to be released in the year 2002. Shooting will begin in October, the Force willing, of course.
Of course.
It is certainly the hottest ticket in town. Seats for the first local showing of the Phantom Menace went on sale at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
And plenty of folks were camped out overnight to make sure they got theirs for the opening show. ABC25's Bob Riddell joins us now from Tinseltown with a report on how the action is going out there. Bob?
You know, Donna and Keith, it seems like these Star Wars fans, all they do is wait. If you recall, a couple Sunday nights ago, they had to wait till midnight for the merchandise to go on sale. This week, a bunch of people came out here to Tinseltown to wait for the tickets to go on sale. Well, today, finally, that line that started 2 days ago came to an end.
They came in the most sophisticated of Earthcraft.
Nice car. Thanks. What brings you out here? Tickets.
Jay Stanford and his Omni were among the more than 100 Star Wars fans lined up around the theater. Perhaps some people wondering how Kevin Ranson at the front of the line managed the wait.
So from 1 o'clock Tuesday morning till now, minus 6 hours is how long I've been out here.
Ty Titus wasn't too far behind.
And I want to analyze this. Why do you guys come out here?
Just to see the first show. I mean, that's just kind of, I guess that's if there's anything that's going to be, I guess, remotely special about it, would be to see the first one.
So this is kind of the Woodstock of our generation.
Something like that. I don't know if it's in the same, but it feels the same.
You're not going to be getting naked and putting flowers in your hair or anything like that?
No, not for this. It's not worth that, no.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Yes.
That is the sound of 1,000 terrible things heading this way.
That's the sound of absolutely no one behind you. So
Sounds of new people pulling up, though.
At 1:30 this afternoon, Shane Rogers didn't mind being at the very end of this very long line.
It's Star Wars, man. It's a cult almost.
At 3 o'clock, Kevin didn't mind shelling out $75 for 12 tickets for he and his friend.
Mission accomplished. Worth the wait.
believe it or not, there are still plenty of tickets available here at Tinseltown for the May 19th showing. However, you cannot get any more tickets for the midnight showing and the 7 and 8 o'clock showing, but there are still 9 other shows on Wednesday, May 19th that are still available. They're only letting you buy 12 tickets per person. And I also talked to the people over at AMC, Regency, and Orange Park a few hours ago, and at that time, they were not sold out yet for any of their shows from May 19th through May 31st. Of course, that all could change once people start getting off work and running to the old box office. Well, this is Bob Riddell reporting live from Tinseltown. Back to you.
All right, some good information there, and glad to see the diehards got what they waited for.
Absolutely, they deserve it.
They do.
ABC25 News at 6 starts now.
Good afternoon, and thanks for staying with us. I'm Bruce Hamilton.
And I'm Karen Adams. Religious messages in Duval County schools. Today, a federal judge rules on the controversial issue. But what did the students and religious communities think about the decision?
The River City might soon be a port of call for several ships. We'll find out why the cruise industry is thinking about dropping anchor here along the First Coast.
It's going to be the greatest film this season, and it's been waiting for it. We've been waiting for this movie for 17 years.
Tickets go on sale today for the most anticipated movie ever.
Live. This is ABC25 News at 6.
Topping ABC25 News, students graduating from Duval County high schools will not be permitted to include religious messages at school graduation.
A federal court handed down that ruling this afternoon. It comes just weeks before this year's graduation ceremonies. ABC25's Ted White joins us live from downtown with more on the story. Ted?
You may remember last year that prayers were allowed at Duval graduations, but today it was overturned by the 11th U.S. District Court of Appeals. Now, this all started last May when several parents and students filed a class action lawsuit, on behalf of Duval County public school students. The suit alleged that school board policies permitting the selection of senior class chaplains and scheduling of prayers during commencement violates the U.S. Constitution. Today, the federal court granted their request.
And they wonder why things like Columbine are happening and other things. Well, there's your answer right there.
If the prayer was like for everybody, where everybody could participate in the prayer, it'd be fine. But if it's like only like one-sided, where only like it's only good for one religion, it's not all that good because it'll like offend other people.
What the Supreme Court has done, though, to me, is essentially endorse atheism. Absolutely. And Christians ought to be irate.
Now, Jacksonville attorney Bill Shepard, who had also been working with the ACLU on this ruling and was actually for this ruling, he wasn't able for an on-camera interview, but he did tell us that he is very pleased with this decision. And it will certainly be interesting in the coming weeks as graduations come near here in Duval County. That is the latest reporting live from downtown Jacksonville. I'm Ted White, ABC 25 News.
Thank you, Ted. A teacher stops the threat of violence at Orange Park Junior High School. Clay County police say 15-year-old David Howard came to school dressed in military fatigues and carrying a knife. They say he wanted to scare students who turned him in for bringing a gun to school last month. A teacher noticed the knife and turned the boy in. Howard will spend the night in the juvenile detention facility in Duval County.
The issue of student violence in schools is a hot topic along the First Coast, and today several groups came together to say violence will be tolerated no longer. ABC 25's Sarah Thrasher joins us live from the South Bank with more. Sarah, what's the game plan?
Well, Bruce, educators and law enforcement officials from Clay, Duval, and Nassau counties are announcing their joint effort putting a stop to the recent rash of hoaxes here on the First Coast.
The massacre at Columbine High School has sparked a domino effect of copycat bomb threats and school shootings across the country. In Jacksonville alone, arrests were made at Landon Middle, Landmark Middle, and Sandalwood High Schools related to bomb threats.
They tried to make it look very much like a bomb.
Police say bomb threats are pouring into schools every day. That's why the state attorney, along with several officials from Duval, Clay, and Nassau counties, are joining together to remind people just what happens to those who make threats to schools.
So certainly we have to maintain some sanity here. Certainly we have to be reasonable, but we will also vigorously pursue those individuals who disrupt the school, who make the kind of threats that we think that reach that level that would warrant arrest and prosecution.
One program already in use is proving to be effective.
And I have to believe that there are a lot of people not taking guns to school because of school resource officers and because of the fact that they know that that is one of the criteria we'll use to prosecute them as adults.
A step officials aren't afraid to take to maintain safe schools.
We are committed to a safe school environment so the teachers can teach and the children can learn.
Now, officials say they will maintain a unified voice to ensure the safety of students in schools. We're live on the South Bank. Sarah Thrasher, ABC 25 News.
Thanks, Sarah. Now let's take this story one step further. Because the Duval County School District wants to reduce the amount of violence in its schools, it's hosting a national teleconference next week. It's called Kids, Guns, Violence, How to Make a Difference. The conference will be held at the Team Center on Tuesday night. For more information, you can call the ABC25 info line at 332-INFO, 332-4636.
A Jacksonville woman drags her 3-year-old son to his death. Now the family and police are trying to figure out what happened. It happened shortly before 9 o'clock last night. Juan Antonio Johnson was playing outside with his older brother. His mother left her in the pickup but didn't know the boy grabbed onto the truck's bumper. Johnson was dragged for more than a mile before he fell from the truck and was run over by another car.
He was on the bumper, holding the bumper like this here. And the baby was being dragged on the Haynes Street.
I don't understand what happened, you know. I just seen him Monday.
Police are still investigating the accident. No charges have been filed in the case. An accident on Jacksonville's west side leaves 2 Middleburg women in critical condition. It happened early this afternoon near the intersection of 295 and US 17. The driver of this car lost control, hit the guardrail, crossed 3 lanes of traffic, and flipped over several times, landing in a ditch. Traffic was backed up for several hours.
One of the men charged with killing a Domino's employee in Bay Meadows says he wants another lawyer. Robert Kisnell told the judge he's having problems with his current counsel, Richard Nichols, so he asked the court to give him a new attorney. Well, his current lawyer will file the motion on Friday. Prosecutors say Kisnell and another man, Johnny Levy, killed Mark Swatzell during a robbery last September. The prosecution brings out a series of experts to testify against an accused Georgia rapist. The most damaging testimony against Matthew Searcy comes from state crime lab officials. They say DNA taken from the first victim matches the defendant's. Witnesses also say bullet fragments found in a car from a third victim could have come from the suspect's gun.
An ABC 25 update now. The body found yesterday in the St. Johns River has been identified. Police identified the man as a transient named Tony Paris. A groundskeeper at Metro Park found his body in the river near the Hart Bridge. The 46-year-old transient was from North Carolina. Foul play is not suspected in his death. Overall, crime is down in the state of Florida. In fact, the crime rate is at its lowest level in 20 years. That's according to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Overall, crime dropped 6.4% last year. Duval County had a drop of 6.8%. St. John's was down 2 9/10. Clay's crime dropped about 2%, and Nassau counties went down almost 3%.
Former Florida House Speaker Bo Johnson and his wife are convicted of tax evasion. Both are now behind bars. The judge in the case will hear motions for their release during the sentencing phase that comes in July. More judges are on the way to Florida's benches. Governor Jeb Bush inks a new law that the state's been waiting 2 years for. Bush signed a judicial certification bill this afternoon at the state Supreme Court. The bill will certify 32 new judges to circuit, county, and district courts.
There's been an imbalance built up over time. The judiciary has been overwhelmed by a lot of cases, and this is a legislature-funded 32 new judges, which will, I think, allow for the administration of justice in the state. So I'm pleased to be here to sign it, and it's kind of fun to do it at the Supreme Court.
About half the judicial position should be filled by November, the other half by the year 2000. Well, the votes are in from yesterday's runoff election. Jacksonville has the most new faces on its city council than it's had since the city consolidated, which was back in 1968.
The council also has the most number of women ever and the youngest person to ever hold a council seat. ABC 25's Donna Severese has more on the new city council.
Age wasn't a matter at all. They wanted someone who understands the issues.
And the city council person-elect from District 9, 24-year-old Reggie Fullwood, says he does understand the issues because of his roots among those he will now serve.
People say, wow, this is a guy who's born and raised in this district. He understands the people. He's been here, and that's what really resonated with the voters well.
Marianne Southwell says she appealed to voters in her district, District 6, the old-fashioned way, one-on-one, which helped her, as many considered her an underdog.
It goes to prove that money isn't everything.
Southwell is one of 5 new women on the council. Does she feel the fact that she's a woman helped her win?
Not just a woman, but I am the woman who has been working for Mandarin for all these years, and the people know it.
Suzanne Jenkins beat out 4 men to capture the District 4 seat. What does she envision for herself and the 13 other new faces on the 19-member city council?
I'd like to see everybody come together and get in the same boat, paddle in the same direction, and make things happen for Jacksonville so we can become that world-class first-tier city and create an identity that people throughout the nation will know.
No time will be wasted in getting started. The first meeting of the new council is set for tomorrow at 1 o'clock. This is Donna Savarese, ABC 25 News.
Now, because of term limits, there are now 14 new people on the city council, with Republicans holding a 12-7 majority.
Well, the late Governor Lawton Chiles is honored by the state of Florida. The 1,003-mile Chiles walked during his 1970 U.S. Senate campaign is now called the Lawton Chiles Trail. Markers will be put up designating several stops he made along the way. He walked from Century in the northwest part of the Panhandle all the way to Key Largo. That walk is also how Chiles earned his nickname, Walkin' Lawton. Still ahead on ABC 25 News, it's anchors away here along the First Coast.
ABC 25's Keith Coons gives us a look at the emerging Jacksonville cruise industry.
And Star Wars hysteria, it has emerged here in Jacksonville. Tickets went on sale today. I'm Bob Riddell. Tonight in a live report, we'll tell you what the availability to these tickets still is or isn't. That's coming up on ABC 25 News.
A few severe thunderstorms have emerged across parts of northeast Florida. We'll check them out with the First Alert live Doppler radar. Next.
Live from ABC 25, Bruce Hamilton, Karen Adams, First Alert Weather with Brian Albrecht, and Sports Blitz with Rick Renner. You're watching ABC 25 News at 6. From the ABC 25 Weather Lab, Brian Albrecht's forecast is approved by the American Meteorological Society.
Well, we didn't get the thunderstorms in Jacksonville again today, but that didn't mean there weren't parts of the First Coast that did. We do have some pretty good-sized clouds still over the city, and that bodes well for perhaps an isolated thunderstorm still to pop up. Sea breeze moving in from the east and some unstable air from the west colliding could still produce something around here, but the bulk of the activity to our south. CityCam showing the clouds out at the beach. Not so. The sky is completely clear. Cool air from the ocean has stabilized the lower atmosphere. First Alert live Doppler radar not showing any precipitation in and around the city of Jacksonville just yet. But again, we have those billowing clouds, especially on the west side of town. Most of the thunderstorm activity has been to the south of us. Still a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Flagler County as well as Putnam County. But well, the strongest storms now seem to be in southern St. Johns County. About 15, 20 miles west of Crescent City. They're moving toward the east. So in southern St. Johns County, you'll have some strong storms, perhaps some hail, also in parts of Flagler County at the present time. We've got some pretty strong action going on too. But elsewhere, everything's fairly quiet. A couple of showers right around the Waldo and Stark area. Down to the south, we've had 3/4-inch hail. Some funnel clouds reported down in Broward and Dade counties with some thunderstorm activity there. But basically around here, quiet weather. Tomorrow, I think we have a better chance for rain showers and thunderstorms thunderstorms all the way out to the beaches with southwest winds throughout most of the day. Today's high temperature reaching up to 86 after a low of 58 last night. Pretty close to normal today. 79 now with a southeast wind blowing in at 10 miles per hour. Close to the water, temperatures in the 70s. Inland still you have 80s. Shower and thunderstorms popping up as we have still an upper level low pressure area, very weak to the east of us, and another storm system coming in from the west. Now over the next few days, this one will take more control of our weather, and that's why I think our chances for rain will pick up. We'll have more energy coming in from that system out to the west of us. Low pressure passing through the Tennessee Valley. Cold front trailing it. That'll drift toward us, probably slip through on Friday night, and behind it we'll get one day off with not much thunderstorm activity behind this on Saturday. High temperatures tomorrow, close to where they were today, mostly in the 80s. Partly cloudy skies tonight with those storms down to the south this evening. Fog late, low 60. Tomorrow, partly sunny with afternoon storms, probably more widespread with a high of 86 and a southwesterly breeze at 7 to 12. On the Atlantic, that southwest wind will mean warm temperatures in the mid-80s with afternoon storms. Marine forecast, southwesterly wind about 15 knots. Moderate chop on the inland waters, 3 to 4 foot seas on the Atlantic. High tide at 6:52 in the morning, just after sunrise. 7-day forecast, pretty much the same each day, save Saturday. And even Sunday, the storms will be kind of scattered around late in the afternoon into the evening, so as you're making your weekend plans, most of the time, weather should cooperate. Just might have to keep an eye on the sky on Sunday afternoon.
It's that predictable type of summer weather that we've come to know and love here in Florida.
Minus a little bit of the heat and humidity, but that's not
we can wait for
far
that.
away. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Personally, I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
All right.
You'll see it.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Now the multi-state big game lottery jackpot's grown to $42 million. None of the tickets for last night's drawing matched all 5 lotto numbers in the big money ball. Your next chance at the big money comes on Friday night. Coming up on ABC25 News, it's a home that dreams are made of. We'll show you why this house is so special a little later.
And here's the winning numbers in the Georgia Lottery Cash 3 midday drawing. If you have this winning combination, maybe you can buy some rugs for that new house. 464 is the winning number.
When you see news happening, call our ABC25 hotline at 332-NEWS or star 25 on your Bell South mobility phone.
Coming up on World News Tonight, technology for a generation of older people who refuse to slow down or acknowledge that they're getting older. We hope you'll join us as we deal once more with the revolution in retirement.
Jacksonville is moving full steam ahead, trying to get a bigger piece of the lucrative cruise ship industry.
But does the city have the right stuff to bring in the crowds? ABC25's Keith Kuntz is here now with more on Jacksonville's blossoming cruise ship industry. Keith.
Bruce, Karen, thank you. Next week, a major cruise ship, one of those 670-footers, will dock in Jacksonville. It's one of just a handful of ships that drop anchor here every year, but all that could soon be changing.
Most people seem to like the idea of cruise ships with hundreds of people on board stopping in Jacksonville.
Absolutely. It's a great place.
You like the idea?
I like the idea.
Not have the opportunity to do a cruise, so that way I won't have to go to South Florida.
And city leaders agree. They believe Jacksonville has only tapped the surface as a destination spot.
Cruise ships, along with other pieces of the puzzle, is what we're looking to try to accomplish.
Andy says a key piece of that puzzle, the Adams Mark Hotel. When the 1,000-room hotel is completed, it will make a perfect docking spot for medium-sized cruise ships.
Like the real estate industry, cruise ships are looking for location, location, location. And Jacksonville just may have the right stuff to really be a player in the industry.
People that are coming from the southeast can come here quite easily without the additional 5 or 6 hours of driving to South Florida. They can get out in the ocean earlier. Also, we have a closeness to Orlando and St. Augustine and World Golf.
And Jacksonville is also moving ahead on the building end of the industry. This fall, Atlantic Marine starts construction on 2 cruise ships, each one big enough to hold 225 passengers.
People who take cruises on the large ships tend to be repeat customers, but after a few cruises, they seem to get an idea that they want something different. And the smaller vessel, the more personalized vessel, as we're building here, gives them that something different. So we believe that there is a growing market for those kind of vessels.
Now, cruise ships that hold 225 passengers are considered to be small. Keep in mind, some of the bigger ones hold up to 900 people. Those 2 cruise ships should be ready for delivery in the fall of the year 2001. They'll go to an outfit that plans to have cruises of the Northeast in the summer and the Southeast in the fall. So Jacksonville potentially could be in that picture at some point. Bruce?
Thank you, Keith. Are you looking for a new house? Well, how about the Atlantic Builders WJCT Dream Home? This home in Kernan Lakes is going on the auction block. You can place your bids for the house beginning May 29th. The opening bid is $150,000. And a portion of the money raised from the sale of the 3-bedroom, 2-bath house will help fund WJCT, the public TV station. Bidding wraps up on June 13th. Coming up after sports here on ABC25 News, the countdown is on for the most anticipated movie event ever. We'll show you how fans are preparing for the Phantom Menace.
And coming up next in sports, the Gators police agents, the next cat attack at the beaches, and a Jaguar nemesis goes under the knife. Sports caffeine free next. The University of Florida is stepping up their probe into sports agents. The university police filed a sworn complaint today against Sean Alfortish for illegal agent activity with players. The department also charged Buford Jordan with acting as a go-between guy between him and players Tim Beauchamp and Doc Pallard, who have since been kicked off the team. Also on the hot seat, Agent Tank Black, who's been associated with players all over the state. He represented 3 Gators at the NFL draft on draft day. 2 of them have since fired them. That's right, it's only May, but the NFL season is just around the corner. And as to tune up, the Jaguars are styling a profiling with fans today. Joel Schmengi and the gang visited the Baptist Memorial Hospital at the beaches. Preseason hype has fans saying Super Bowl, but these guys are saying, hey, don't count your chickens before they egg.
Last year, they said we were going to win the Super Bowl, so that doesn't really go very far. We got to get out there every Sunday and play well, and we need to stay healthy this year. I think that's going to be very important for us having a successful year is how healthy we stay.
At this phase right now, what we're really trying to do is just try to gel together as a team unit, and we're trying to come together, get to know one another, and really just try to, just work hard and get strong. Because, if we don't get the strength, and the speed condition and everything, then we're definitely not going to be able to obtain the other goals.
Hey, we finally figured out how to stop the bus. Emergency appendix surgery. Steelers running back Jerome Bettis underwent surgery after a workout to remove his appendix. Bettis was training with Bob Kersey, the coach of the late great Florence Griffith Joyner, when he experienced a sharp pain. He should be good to go, though, come training camp time in the summer. Court sports, Buffalo Bills receiver Eric Moulds gets ordered to jail for 30 days for being a deadbeat dad. Moulds was released on $2,500 bail for delaying child support payments. Our lone girls softball team is still left in the state championship, which continues tomorrow. It's the Nice Masterpiece. Thursday, the Panthers will be on the prowl in Auburndale, somewhere between Orlando and Tampa, in the school's first ever Final Four. Now the bad news, it's against the 4th-ranked team in the country, Naples, who's won like 9 out of the last 10 state titles. But Nice is fearless.
Yeah, we were very excited about it. We've come a long ways in our program here, and we've had some very tough wins over the course of the 2 years to get ourselves to a point where we could advance to the Final Four, and we're just very pleased to be there.
We have to be really focused and just play hard. We have nothing to lose. We're going down there to have fun, and we're the underdog. Nobody knows who we are, and so we have nothing to lose.
Highlights tomorrow. Let's go to Tampa and Tropicana Field. Minnesota Twinkies and the Tampa Bay D-Rays. Jose Canseco, the onslaught continues. And where does he take that one, Malcolm? Number 12, he's better than Big Mac, who cracked his 8th this year today. Bad news, though, in the score column. Twinkies beat the D-Rays 9-4. Braves are down 4-zip to San Fran on the left coast in the 6th inning. That's sports. Over to you.
Thanks, Rick. Coming up at 7 o'clock on ABC25 tonight, drug use among kids is on the rise, and it's not just alcohol or pot. A new study shows that more than 500,000 teenagers admit to using heroin in the past year. We're going to show you what to look for, plus how to keep your children from experimenting with heroin. That's coming up in about 30 minutes on ABC25 tonight.
And coming up tonight on the ABC25 Nightcast, some Florida National Guard soldiers are fighting a battle on a different front. Hundreds of men and women are trained and on standby to help fight Firestorm 99 if it materializes. Sarah Thrasher with that special report. That's tonight at 11. It's the ABC25 Nightcast. Meantime, tickets for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, have been on sale for a little more than 3 hours now.
Those fans who started lining up Monday night are now walking away with tickets in hand.
ABC25's Bob Riddell is in the middle of all the action at the Tinseltown Theater box office. Not a lot of action right now, Bob.
That's right, Bruce. Karen, it's kind of a lull right now, and in spite of those long lines that we were talking about earlier, there are still plenty of tickets left. Now, there was a line earlier today that was started sometime Monday night, early Tuesday morning by Kevin Ranson and his buddies when they showed up and camped out here. By earlier today, there were more than 100 people out here. You know, Kevin says it's just one of those things.
This is kind of the Woodstock of our generation.
Something like that. I don't know if it's in the same, but it feels the same. I mean, this is huge.
And right now, we're back out here live at Tinseltown Theaters. You can see it looks like they're selling another one of these Star Wars tickets. Still plenty of left here. Here are the shows that are still available. This is Bob Riddell reporting live. Back to you.
All
right, thanks, Bob.
Sounds like fun. And thank you for joining us, everyone. ABC World News Tonight with Mr. Peter Jennings is up next.
Keith and Donna are back here at 7. We're back here with the Nightcast at 11. For now, we are out of time and you're up to date. As always, have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow.
Good night.